In 2018, the United States Supreme Court declared a federal ban on sports gambling to be unconstitutional in the case of Murphy versus the NCAA. Since then, 38 of our 50 states and DC have legalized some form of sports gambling. Prior to the Supreme Court decision, the signs of the rise in sports gambling had been evident for a while. In the years leading up to 2018, many states had already passed laws allowing for the legalization of sports gambling once the federal ban was lifted. And all the prominent gambling companies you know today had started to set up their websites under the framework of daily fantasy sports. As soon as the ban was lifted, they were locked and stocked with customer accounts and data ready to deposit and play. Gambling in the sports world has become inescapable. As you saw last week, Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier were arrested for involvement in an alleged gambling conspiracy. Now take a look at ESPN's coverage. This is an FBI investigation into possible point shaving with mafia involvement, and they're still pushing their own app for gambling down your throat. Even outside of the media, betting is dominating all conversations around sports, and it's turning most fans into empty-headed NPCs. When you go to a stadium or even just a bar to watch a game, it is becoming more and more rare to hear discussion on the actual competition. Now, all you hear are cries of a parlay that fell a leg short, or the hubris of a community college dropout who swears he has a read on a certain line. There are plenty of video essays on YouTube dissecting social media's negative impact on society and individuals today. However, I think the rise in sports gambling is forming the latest and greatest poison to our generation's collective psyche. I've wanted to start a YouTube channel for a long time now, and I've had the idea to make a video on this topic for a little while. But there were two recent events that really made me understand that this was the perfect time to release this video. The first being the aforementioned arrest of Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier, and the second was the passing of Robert Redford on September 16th of this year. I have one strong memory from my childhood involving Redford's work. One of the first movies I ever remember watching was 1984's The Natural. Widely considered one of the best sports movies of all time, the premise of the film follows a once great baseball phenom named Roy Hobbs, played by Redford, who's trying to revive his career years after his athletic prime. So Hobbs gets his shot at redemption with the fictional team called the New York Knights. The Knights are an absolute bottom feeder organization, similar to the Cleveland Browns or the Oakland A's in real life. Now, there's a scene in this movie where the team manager brings in a sports psychologist to hopefully change the mindset of the athletes. And one thing you have to know is that this movie takes place or is set in 1939, so sports psychology isn't as accepted or known as it is today. This scene is portrayed as like a wacky, fleeting attempt to save their season. And even though it's been a good 10 years since I've seen this movie, there's one quote from the psychologist himself that has always been seared into my mind. He says, "Losing is a disease, as contagious as bubonic plague, attacking one but infecting all, but curable." The doctor uses disease as a metaphor to illustrate that losing or being a loser in life can feel like a condition or something you are infected with. All of us at some point in life have felt like a loser. And when you're losing in life, your poor mood and outlook will lead to poor performance. This will then further suppress your ability to escape the cycle. As legendary NFL coach Vince Lombardi once said, "Winning is a habit, Unfortunately, so is losing. Habits. If you want to avoid the disease of losing, you have to do what protects you from all diseases: adopting healthy habits. Habits build momentum. Whether you say aura, mojo, it factor, the glow, these are all terms we use to describe an intangible presence that accompanies a winner. And I believe they can be defined as the possession of psychic momentum. When good habits start to show consistent accomplishment, the wins in your life will stack into momentum. In other words, the evidence of your past achievements give you the confidence to succeed in your future endeavors. Society today is built to crush your momentum. Corporations want the freedom of individuals subjugated to the conformity of the rest of society. Social media over the last 15 to 20 years has been the most powerful force in the destruction of your individualism. It's a constant reminder that acceptance of your peers should be prioritized over everything. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we are now starting to see the effects of online sports gambling. And for those of you who partake, you're not going to realize the effects it's having on you in real time. But it will slowly over time sort of diminish the fire in your belly and castrate your psyche. If you would like to get a Beyond Scared Straight style glimpse into the effects gambling will have on you, all you have to do is take a trip down to your local casino or racetrack. Take a look around. I bet it doesn't look like Casino Royale or Ocean's 11 or whatever the fuck that Mark Wahlberg poker movie was. I'd bet the crowd gives off more of a Walmart, Little Caesars, Old Country buffet sort of vibe. Seriously, you're gonna see the most pathetic group of human beings gathered in a single setting. You're gonna see senior citizen widows pissing away whatever their husband had saved in his life. You're gonna see middle-aged bachelors who have breathalyzers installed in their Nissans. And you're gonna see sloppy drunk hoes who can't afford the trip to Nashville this year. Casinos will give you a true dystopian feel straight out of George Orwell's novel 1984. In fact, here's a quote from Orwell's most famous work on how gambling will be used to control the masses. Football, beer, and above all, gambling filled up the horizon of their minds. To keep them in control was not difficult. You don't even have to go to the casino anymore. Gambling comes to you from the comfort of your smartphone. And now, it's not only seductive to sports fans, but to everyone. So I'm sure a lot of you have noticed on YouTube lately the bombardment of shitty AI advertisement campaign videos for a certain company that will remain nameless. I'm mostly just scared of any lawsuits, this being my first YouTube video. I don't really know what I'm getting myself into. But this new website gives you the opportunity to not only gamble on sports, but political outcomes, economic outcomes, and even the weather. So now we're gonna see people losing their money on everyday current events and chasing the high that they might be able to win constantly throughout the day, not just on game days. These corporations are bloodsuckers. They hide behind their branding and pretend they're providing you with some type of opportunity that was unavailable to you before. And they won't even admit what industry they're in. All of these big companies, all the ones you use to gamble on sports, they all say that they are in the gaming industry because it sounds better. They don't want to admit that they are gambling companies. I want to read an excerpt from the mission statement of the company I mentioned previously. They say, one of the primary reasons for so-and-so's existence is to democratize access to prediction markets. Traditionally, prediction markets have been complex and somewhat inaccessible to the average person. So-and-so breaks down these barriers by offering an intuitive platform where anyone with a belief about the future can participate. Whether it's predicting election outcomes, economic indicators, or the impact of climate events, so-and-so places the power of forecasting in the hands of those who dare to speculate. What a load of bullshit. These companies want you to stack losses. Which circles back to our original point on momentum. You need to free yourself from the habits and behaviors that lead to loss. Losing is a disease, and habits are your cure. Like I said previously in the video, this was my first attempt at a YouTube video. It's something I kind of had a lot of fun with. I'm all self-taught here. Never had edited anything or recorded anything before, but I hope at least was somewhat enjoyable. If you liked it at all, or even if you have some constructive feedback for me, please comment. And I just want to thank you for your time.